Dessons. The secret gold magnet strategy to attract continuous wealth in any economy. Hook. Have you ever noticed that during every economic crisis, while millions of people are struggling financially, a small group of individuals somehow continue building wealth? When inflation rises, they find opportunities. When markets crash, they make strategic moves. When businesses fail, they discover new ways to create value. And while everyone else is focused on fear, they remain focused on growth. The question is, what do they know that most people don't? Is there some hidden secret, some exclusive financial strategy available only to the rich? Or is there something much simpler that has been hiding in plain sight all along? The truth might surprise you, because the wealthiest people in the world don't rely on luck. They don't depend on perfect economic conditions, and they certainly don't wait for the right time to start building their future. Instead, they follow a set of principles that attract opportunities, increase income, and grow wealth regardless of what's happening around them. Today, we're going to uncover what I call the gold magnet strategy, a strategy built on mindset, discipline, skills, and long-term thinking. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some people seem to attract wealth naturally and how you can begin applying the same principles in your own life. And trust me, the final lesson in this video may completely change the way you think about money forever. So stay with me. Let's begin. Disector, introduction. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that your income has stopped. No paycheck, no business revenue, no money coming in. What would happen? How long could you survive? A week? A month? 3 months? For millions of people around the world, that scenario is a terrifying reality. Many people are only one unexpected event away from financial stress, and yet, there are others who seem completely calm. Not because they're lucky, not because they inherited money, but because they spent years building financial strength before they needed it. Here's the first truth you need to understand. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract. And before you misunderstand what I mean, let me explain. I'm not talking about magic. I'm not talking about wishing for money. And I'm definitely not talking about get-rich-quick schemes. What I mean is that wealth naturally flows toward people who become valuable, people who solve problems, people who develop skills, people who think differently, people who stay consistent when everyone else gives up. Those people become financial magnets. And that's exactly what this video is about. Answers Chapter 1. The biggest financial lie. Most people believe. From a young age, many of us are taught a simple formula. Go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, work hard, and eventually you'll become financially secure. But if that formula were completely true, millions of hardworking people wouldn't be struggling today. The reality is that hard work alone is not enough. Think about it. Construction workers work hard. Factory workers work hard. Nurses work hard. Teachers work hard. Yet many still face financial challenges. Why? Because wealth is not simply a reward for effort. It's a reward for value. The marketplace doesn't pay people based on how hard they work. It pays people based on how much value they create. That's why someone who writes software that helps millions of people can earn more than someone working physically demanding jobs. The key lesson here is simple. Stop asking, how can I work harder? Start asking, how can I become more valuable? That question changes everything. Because the moment you focus on increasing your value, new opportunities begin appearing everywhere. Chapter 2. The story of a man who changed his life. Let me tell you a story. Several years ago, there was a man named James. James wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He wasn't exceptionally talented. He worked an ordinary job earning an average income. Every month followed the same pattern. Salary arrives. Bills get paid. Money disappears. Stress returns. Then the cycle repeats, year after year. One day, James realized something disturbing. He was getting older, but he wasn't getting closer to financial freedom. In fact, despite working hard for years, he felt stuck. That's when he decided to make one small change. Instead of spending every evening watching television, he started reading for 1 hour each night. At first, nothing happened. 1 week passed. 1 month passed. 6 months passed. No dramatic transformation. No overnight success. But something was changing beneath the surface. His knowledge was growing. His confidence was growing. His understanding of money was growing. Eventually, he learned a new skill, then another, then another. Within 2 years, he had increased his income significantly. Within 5 years, he had multiple income streams. Within 10 years, his life looked completely different. Now here's the important part. The thing that changed James's future wasn't money. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a winning lottery ticket. It was a decision, a single decision to invest in himself. Most people underestimate the power of small daily improvements because the results are invisible at first. But over time, those small improvements create extraordinary outcomes. And that's exactly how wealth works. One habit at a time, one skill at a time, one investment at a time, one decision at a time. The people who become financially successful aren't usually making one giant leap. They're making thousands of small, smart decisions that compound over time. And that's the foundation of the gold magnet strategy. Chapter 3. The Wealth Magnet Mindset. Now let's talk about something most people ignore. Mindset. The word gets thrown around a lot these days, but the truth is that mindset isn't about positive thinking. It's about the way you interpret reality. Imagine 2 people losing their jobs on the same day. The first person immediately panics. They believe their life is falling apart. They blame the economy. They blame their employer. They blame bad luck. The second person experiences the same situation, the same job loss, the same uncertainty. But they ask a different question. What opportunity exists here? That single question changes everything. One person sees an ending, the other sees a beginning. And that's one of the biggest differences between people who build wealth and those who remain stuck. Wealthy individuals train themselves to look for opportunities in situations where others only see obstacles. When markets crash, they look for investments. When industries change, they learn new skills. When technology evolves, they adapt. Instead of resisting change, they use it. And over time, that ability becomes incredibly valuable. Because the world rewards adaptation, not comfort. Chapter 4. Why most people never get rich. Here's a difficult truth. Most people don't have an income problem, they have a spending problem. Now, before you get offended, hear me out. Many people receive salary increases throughout their lives, but somehow they never seem to get ahead. Why? Because every increase in income is matched by an increase in lifestyle. A better car, a bigger apartment, more subscriptions, more luxury purchases, more expenses. The result? They earn more, but feel exactly the same financially. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest enemies of wealth. The wealthy understand something that most people never learn. There is a huge difference between looking rich and being rich. Looking rich costs money. Being rich creates freedom. Many people spend their lives trying to impress others, buying things they don't need, using money they haven't earned, to impress people who don't care. The truly wealthy often do the opposite. They focus on building assets, investments, businesses, skills, cash flow, because they understand a powerful principle. Assets put money into your pocket. Liabilities take money out. The more assets you own, the easier wealth becomes. Chapter 5. The Farmer's Secret. Imagine a farmer standing in a field. He plants seeds. The next day, nothing happens. A week later, nothing happens. A month later, still nothing visible. Should he quit? Of course not, because he understands something important. Growth happens underground before it appears above ground. The same is true for wealth. Many people give up because they don't see immediate results. They start investing. Nothing exciting happens. They quit. They start a side business. Growth is slow. They quit. They start learning a valuable skill. Progress feels difficult. They quit. But successful people understand the farmer's secret. The early stages of growth are often invisible. The rewards come later. Think about learning to drive. At first, everything feels difficult. Steering, parking, traffic, mirrors. It seems impossible, but eventually it becomes automatic. Wealth works the same way. The first stage is difficult. The second stage becomes easier. The third stage becomes powerful. The key is staying in the game long enough. Chapter 6. The Power of High-Income Skills. Let's talk about one of the greatest wealth magnets on earth, skills. Not luck, not connections, not perfect timing. Skills. Because skills create value, and value attracts money. Think about some of the highest paid people in the modern economy. Sales professionals, software engineers, business consultants, copywriters, digital marketers, content creators, AI specialists, entrepreneurs. What do they all have in common? They possess valuable skills, and those skills solve valuable problems. The marketplace rewards problem solvers. The bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the reward. This is why investing in yourself is often the highest return investment you'll ever make. Stocks can go down, markets can crash, businesses can fail, but knowledge stays with you. Skills stay with you. Experience stays with you. And once you develop those things, nobody can take them away. Chapter 7. The Janitor Who Became a Millionaire. Now let me tell you another story. A story that perfectly demonstrates the power of consistency. There was a janitor, not a celebrity, not a CEO, not a famous investor, just an ordinary worker earning an ordinary income. For decades, he lived modestly. While others upgraded their lifestyles, he stayed disciplined. While others spent every paycheck, he invested. While others chased quick riches, he focused on consistency. Month after month, year after year, decade after decade, he continued investing. Most people ignored him. Many probably assumed he wasn't successful. After all, he wasn't driving luxury cars, he wasn't showing off expensive possessions. But when people eventually learned the size of his investment portfolio, they were shocked. He had accumulated millions of dollars, not because he earned an extraordinary salary, not because he inherited wealth, not because he got lucky, but because he mastered something incredibly rare: patience. And that's what many people underestimate. Success is often less about intelligence and more about consistency, doing the right things long enough for them to work. That's it. No magic, no secrets. Just disciplined action repeated over time. And while that sounds simple, very few people are willing to do it. That's why very few people experience extraordinary results. Chapter 8. The moment everything changes. There comes a point in every wealth-building journey where things begin to accelerate. At first, progress feels slow, painfully slow. You save money. Nothing changes. You invest money. Nothing changes. You learn new skills. Nothing changes. But then something remarkable happens. Your investments start generating returns. Your skills start creating opportunities. Your experience starts increasing your income. Your network starts expanding. And suddenly, all those small efforts begin working together. This is where many people finally realize an important truth. The first years are often the hardest, but they're also the most important, because they're building the foundation for everything that comes later. And once that foundation is strong enough, growth becomes faster, opportunities become larger, and wealth becomes easier to maintain. The challenge is surviving long enough to reach that stage. Most people quit before they get there. I don't be one of them. Chapter 9. Multiple streams of income. Let me ask you a simple question. What would happen if your only source of income disappeared tomorrow? For many people, the answer is frightening. Because their entire financial life depends on a single paycheck. Imagine trying to sit on a chair with only one leg. The moment that leg breaks, everything falls apart. That's exactly how many people manage their finances. One job, one income source, one point of failure. The wealthy often think differently. They understand that financial security comes from diversification. This doesn't mean you need 10 businesses. It doesn't mean you need to become an entrepreneur overnight. It simply means gradually building additional sources of income. Maybe it's investing, maybe it's freelancing, maybe it's creating digital products, maybe it's starting a small online business, maybe it's earning dividends from investments. The goal isn't to become rich tomorrow, the goal is to create options. Because every additional stream of income reduces financial stress, and every stream creates new opportunities for growth. Over time, those streams can become a powerful river, and that river can completely change your future. Chapter 10. The magic of compounding. There is a force so powerful that most people underestimate it, not because it's complicated, but because it's slow. It's called compounding, and it has created countless fortunes throughout history. Imagine two people. The first person spends $100 every week. The second person invests that same amount consistently. At first, there doesn't seem to be much difference. 1 year passes. Still not much difference. 3 years pass, 5 years pass. The gap begins to grow. 10 years pass. The gap becomes significant. 20 years pass. The difference becomes life-changing. Why? Because money starts earning money. And then that money earns more money. And then those earnings create even more earnings. This is why patience is so valuable. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year, but dramatically underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. The wealthy understand this principle. That's why they focus on long-term growth rather than short-term excitement. Action. Chapter 11. The Recession Advantage. Most people fear economic downturns, and that's understandable. Negative headlines are everywhere. Fear spreads quickly. People begin selling assets. People stop investing. People become cautious. But history has shown something fascinating. Many successful investors see downturns differently. They understand that every major economic challenge eventually passes. Every recession, every crisis, every market correction. Eventually, recovery comes. And while nobody can predict exactly when, history shows that economies adapt and rebuild. That's why disciplined investors focus on long-term opportunities rather than short-term panic. While others are reacting emotionally, they stay focused on fundamentals, and that difference often creates enormous advantages over time. The lesson here isn't to ignore risks. The lesson is to avoid making decisions based purely on fear, because fear has destroyed more wealth than recessions ever could. Chapter 12. The Bamboo Tree Lesson. Before we move to the final action plan, I want to share one of my favorite lessons. There is a type of bamboo tree that spends years growing beneath the surface. For years, there is almost no visible progress. Nothing impressive, nothing exciting, nothing that would make people stop and pay attention. Yet beneath the ground, a massive root system is developing. Then one day, everything changes. The bamboo begins growing rapidly. To an outside observer, it seems like overnight success. But it wasn't. The growth was happening all along. It was simply invisible. Your financial journey works exactly the same way. The books you read, the skills you develop, the habits you build, the investments you make. the discipline you practice. They may not produce immediate results. People around you may not notice. Sometimes even you won't notice. But beneath the surface, your foundation is growing. And one day, the results will become impossible to ignore. Never underestimate the power of invisible progress. But us. Chapter 13. The 5-Year Challenge. Right now, I want you to imagine 2 versions of yourself. The first version continues living exactly as they are today. Same habits, same financial decisions, same excuses, same mindset. Now imagine another version. This version commits to growth. They read books. They learn valuable skills. They save consistently. They invest regularly. They become slightly better every single day. Not perfect, just better. Fast forward 5 years. Which version will have more opportunities? Which version will have more freedom? Which version will have more confidence? The answer is obvious, yet most people never make the decision. Not because they can't, but because they keep waiting. Waiting for the perfect time. Waiting for the perfect opportunity. Waiting for motivation. But successful people understand something important. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Results create confidence. And confidence creates even bigger results. Everything begins with action. The Gold Magnet Action Plan. Now let's bring everything together. If you truly want to become a wealth magnet, follow these principles. First, increase your financial education. The more you understand money, the better decisions you'll make. Second, develop valuable skills. Remember, income often follows value. Third, spend less than you earn. Simple, but powerful. Fourth, build an emergency fund. Financial stability creates peace of mind. Fifth, invest consistently, not occasionally, consistently. Sixth, create additional income streams over time. Seventh, stay patient, because wealth is rarely built quickly. And finally, never stop learning. The moment you stop growing is the moment you stop progressing. Chapter, final message. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's this. Wealth is not reserved for a lucky few. It's not reserved for people born into the right family, and it's not reserved for geniuses. Financial success is often the result of ordinary people making extraordinary decisions consistently over time. The decision to learn, the decision to save, the decision to invest, the decision to improve, the decision to keep going when others quit. Those decisions may seem small today, but over time, they become the foundation of an entirely different life. 5 years from now, you can be in a completely different financial position than you are today. But only if you start now. Not next month, not next year. Now. Naber, outro. And remember, every wealthy person you admire once stood exactly where you are today. With doubts, with challenges, with uncertainty. The difference is that they took action. So take the first step. Start learning. Start investing. Start building. Because your future is being shaped by the decisions you make today. If you enjoyed this video and found value in it, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Money Road, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos about wealth, investing, success, and financial freedom. And before you leave, tell us in the comments, what is the first step you're taking toward building your financial future? Thank you for watching. This is Money Road. Stay focused, stay disciplined, keep moving forward, and we'll see you in the next video.